Welcome back to the next one. This is episode 3 of how to play the Delta blues, or how to play just some blues on the ukulele. In the first episode we looked at the basic structure and how to add little flares on the C and the G, and different kind of places. In the second episode we looked at different voicings we have around on the ukulele. In this episode I want to show you some little licks that I like to add in between. So the hardest part about this, if you're just starting out, is how to switch between strumming and plucking. So let me think about this. So this is how it sounds. So none of those licks are necessarily things that I've sat down and figured out, but there's certain patterns that I am repeating that give it that kind of flair. So let's look at a few of those. So we're playing the blues. So we're using I think it's a minor pentatonic scale. I don't really know what it's called, but this is essentially where I'm going with this. I'm going to do it descending because that's how I play it most naturally. So let's take a look at the scale. So I normally just end it on the low C because, of course, on the ukulele, in most ukuleles, the G string is in the same octave as the bottom A string. If you have a ukulele with a low G string, you can maybe end on that A and it sounds natural. But for me, I guess I do things like that. So what I'm doing here is very simple. I'm going from the 3rd fret of the A string, and then open, and then 3rd fret of the E string, and then open, 3rd fret of the C string, and then the 2nd fret of the C string, and then open, and then if you like you can play the top G string, or play the 2nd fret, which is the root note. So and I like to run down that. I usually like to run down it on the 2nd bar. So I use that one quite a lot because it just fits well for me. Okay, so you can also use it in the 1st bar. Nah. You can also use it on the 1st bar. So, now you know where those notes are. You don't have to play them in that order. That's the whole point of a scale. You don't have to play it in order. As long as you hit those notes, it's going to sound good. So, especially with that C string, it's fun to hammer from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. I like to go other places too sometimes, so I like to play this D, which is on the 5th fret of the A string. You can even go to the 6th fret, because then you've got an E flat, and like we said last episode, the E flat has some funk to it. So when it comes to plucking, sometimes I'm using my thumb. Sometimes I like to keep my thumb up here, rest it on the G string, and since I'm not really using the G string, I just rest it, and I use these fingers to play it sort of like I'm playing the bass. So I've just introduced a bend there on that D on the 5th fret. If you don't know how to bend, it's helpful to use your ring finger and use your other fingers behind it to sort of give it some extra strength. So what I'm doing is I go from the so well, I've lost my voice. I'm going from the 5th fret, and then I've got the 3rd fret here on with my ring finger. Sorry, with this finger. What's this finger called? Your pointy finger? Your index finger. Is it your index finger? I don't know my fingers. So I like to run around there. So let's see what I end up with. Now and again, I'm using the G string in this sort of pattern. Because I know that this on the 3rd fret of the E string, that's a G, right? Sometimes I find it easier just to flip between using these fingers and my thumb. It's quite a common way of playing arpeggios on the uke. So if you get the hang of that pattern, so that's using the thumb on the C string, and then another finger on the E string, then your thumb on the G string, and then one of these fingers on the A string. So that pattern, you can go inward and outward. That's always fun, and if you have that, you can kind of fit that into the blues. So now let's talk about, and you let me know in the comments if I'm rushing through this and I can explain things more clearly. Today I just suddenly got the feeling like I wanted to teach this. I don't know why, so I'm doing it. It's like 1 in the morning. Is it? Yeah, it's 20 past 1 in the morning. I just really wanted to do this. Thanks for sticking around. So when I'm switching between strumming and plucking, what I'm doing, so I'm strumming normally. So when I strum, I like to use my nails on the down, and I use my thumbnail on the up. And I'm flicking my wrist, right? But when I want to switch and I want to start plucking, I rest my thumb on the G string. So I'm strumming, and now I catch my thumb on the G string, and now my fingers are open here to start. They're open to start plucking. So I'm resting and go from strumming to resting my thumb, and that's how I flip between the two. So those are the 3 main things, right? I've shown you now the 3 main things that I do when I'm playing the blues, and now I'll present to you the whole thing, and I'm just messing around. Watch carefully, watch it over and over again, and try and incorporate your own sort of vibe to it. Just go on feeling. It won't happen straight away, but once your muscle memory kicks in and you start knowing where to go, eventually you just feel like you're singing through the uke. So listen out for which notes are particularly singing. Hopefully it catches. I'm using my phone to record. I don't know how good it actually even sounds, but let's have a listen. so this is just a little bonus. In blues and jazz, you have like a turnaround, right? Which is how you, when you start repeating the pattern, going back to the beginning, it's fun to sort of add in a little twist. And I like to use this, and I've got it from listening to all blues, right? Robert Johnson does it all the time, probably a more complicated version of it, but here's how I play the turnaround. So, pretty simple. What I'm doing is, so for this turnaround, I'm putting my ring finger on the 4th fret of the C string, and if you want a little bit of extra juice, you can put your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and you just move it down one semitone at a time until you land on the A7, and then the last beat you got the E7 at the end there. So that's the turnaround I like to do, like this. If you'd like to pluck it, because that sounds a little bit more Robert Johnson-y, you can use your thumb on the C string, and then use one of these fingers on the A string, and you can even combine the strumming and the plucking. Not like that though. I don't even know. Yeah. So I'm sort of plucking the C string, and then I'm just doing like an upward strum, catching all the notes, but focusing on the A string. So you can use that at the beginning of the blues, and you can also use it as a turnaround at the end to go back to the repetition. So I'll show you. So let's say we're just starting now. So that's a little bonus for you. If I think of anything else, I'll add it in, probably. But that's how I like to play the Delta blues on the ukulele. Give it a go. You won't get it straight away unless, well, maybe you will, but don't lose hope. It's my favourite thing to play on the uke. Yeah, thank you for watching. I don't think I'll ever make a ukulele tutorial again, so unless you want me to, in which case tell me. At the moment, I'm just I've decided I'm going to make everything that comes into my head, because what's the use in sitting around? And it's fun to not only have a skill that you've developed independently, but then once you've sort of nailed it, or I haven't nailed it yet, but once you've kind of got there, you can bring it to other people, and I would love other people to be able to play this. And then try messing around in other keys and see what you can get there. I mean, I normally just stick to the key of A because I'm lazy. But try and convince your guitarist friends to play in the key of A because that's where you do best. But if you've got to play in other keys, just figure it out. You won't be able to do as much open stuff, or you can always use a capo. But figure out the blues. The blues is at its core mathematical, because music is at its core mathematical. That doesn't mean you have to sit and do sums, but if you want to get a feel for it, you just got to take what you know, move it up a bit, move it down a bit, and you'll find it. I'm sure you will. I believe in you. And, show your friends how versatile this little thing can be. It's not all about somewhere over the rainbow, but it can be. All right, bye.